most recent adventure of Roderic O'Gorman, the former Minister for Equality, Green Party leader. And actually, I'll start by saying something nice about Roderic, which is I saw the coolest thing ever last week or the week before. I was outside Leinster House and he was in the middle of recording a video for his social media. I only came in at the 11th hour as he was finishing, but contextually, it seemed like he was doing some sort of video about Ireland's public transport. And he was in the middle, he's there talking to the camera, and he's talking about the public transport system and climate change and all that. And as he finished talking, the bus pulled up perfectly and he stepped on seamlessly. And I don't know if he did it in one take or what, but I was telling him, like, fair play. Like, that was the timing could not have been more perfect. So I don't know if that's on his social media now. It might be. You can go.
I can already anticipate the comments like, yeah, and then he got the bus off to ruin the country.
Well, I thought from a cinematography perspective, he nailed it. So he has my support for that. But I don't know if he got the bus to the airport subsequently because, as we all know, we're in the middle of Pride Month. This is a very important time on the progressive liturgical calendar as far as the national celebration and defense of LGBT values. And you see, one of the problems is, like all kind of spiritual movements, you need to have martyrs, you need to have martyrdom, and a big thing that they like to emphasize, the left and progressives, is the sort of struggle from below. We are persecuted, the state is against us, but we're fighting on anyway, and yada yada. This is like a big part of where they get their cachet. And the issue is, in Ireland and in almost the entire Western world, they could not be less persecuted. In fact, they are very much in the ascendancy, and God help you if you challenge them, even in the most mild way possible. They are dominant across academia, politics, the every corporate office in the land. They have complete control of the media and all of these different institutions. So it's very hard to portray yourself as a persecuted minority and as a rebel movement when that's the case.
Well, I was just to add, I can't imagine anything less rebellious than the country's tax body flying the flag over its insignia on the website. Like, I don't know if people saw that during the week. Revenue had a pride flag flying above the little revenue insignia on their website. It's like, I don't think they've ever done that for the tricolour. But suffice to say, yeah, not doesn't cut a particularly rebellious image.
No, I mean, like, the same-sex marriage referendum wasn't that long ago. It was, what, 2015, I believe.
10 years ago, yeah. Well, I guess they're commemorating the decade of progress now.
So within the last decade, we had a vote on this, and obviously it passed. But 1/3 of the Irish population voted no to that referendum. So that is a minority, but it's not like a totally insane fringe of lunatics who can be totally discounted. And if you today were to say, you know what, I'm not too keen on same-sex marriage, I think that marriage is between a man and a woman, or, you know, you make an argument about adopting children, or whatever kind of argument you want to make, if you were to just calmly and reasonably articulate the view that 1/3 of the population holds, you would be incinerated by everyone around you. You might as well put on a clan hood and start throwing up Roman salutes. Like, that level of vitriol would descend upon you. So that's the level of persecution you're talking about. Really, if there's any persecution going on, it's the other way. But sorry, you were going to say?
No, not at all. I was getting my referendums mixed up between in terms of the results between the 2015 and the 2018 one. All the, close enough as the results were anyway. But yeah, what we wanted to discuss today was the fact that, as you say, they like to paint themselves in this very repressed, oppressed, whichever way you like to phrase it, way, and that, because that so obviously isn't the case, results in some real oddities. It results in some real absurdity, you might say, because we started with Roderic O'Gorman, and Mr. O'Gorman over the weekend was in Hungary, where pride marches have been banned, as is their right, you might say. And he was over there with a couple of other Irish politicians. I think he was over there with Cynthia Nimercu,
I believe Kieran Cuff.
Kieran Cuff. Exactly. There was a few, Maria Walsh, the MEP. There was a number of them over there pictured having a great old time. And as I say, the attempt to portray this movement as oppressed or anything like this, because they've been on a real sort of social media campaign with all of this. I've never seen Roderic put up so many videos as he does about this march in another country. But anyway, I thought it might be worthwhile reading the details from this article, because obviously I wasn't over there. I didn't look particularly closely. This was in the Irish Examiner. Do you object to my reading some of the details from this, Ben?
No, feel free. Before we weigh in with our hot takes, it's best to establish the facts.
Establish the facts. So anyway, yeah, they traveled over, and so the first thing I want to point out is that it's just sort of uncritically being reported that there were over 100,000 people at Budapest Pride. That is an enormous crowd. First to say, they will sort of begrudgingly say that there are like 5,000 people, say, at an anti-immigration protest in Dublin City. Multiply that all the way up to 100,000, like that. I find it extraordinarily hard to believe, first of all, that there was 100,000 people in Budapest for Budapest Pride. And obviously, you're not going to have any government figures on that, because it was a banned march. But anyway, it's funny to me, the protest passed off without any major incident. There were no reports of assault emerging from the march, and there were only small groups of counter-protesters who made little impact, I understand.
Wait a minute. So you mean Orban didn't start deploying sarin gas and dropping napalm on the crowd and
well, you might be.
He was personally hanging out of a helicopter shooting at them with a high-powered rifle, like.
Yeah, exactly. He was standing in the upper floors of buildings that they were passing by, sort of offering conversion therapy and things like this. So, suffice to say, it doesn't appear to be the sort of oppressive atmosphere that they were expecting to be airdropped into, because it passed without a hitch. It was led by the parade was led by the mayor of Budapest, whose name I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce, who told the crowd, "We don't exactly look as though we were banned." It's like everything about this goes against the narrative that these Irish politicians have been promoting in their videos and their social media feeds over the weekend, where they were talking about how repressive Hungary has gone, how authoritarian it's gone. And yet, despite pride marches being banned, it went by peacefully. The police didn't, batter people in the streets in the same way that the Gardaí did during COVID. Over here or anything like that, or as they have in multiple places around the country in relation to immigration. But it still didn't stop them sort of attempting to portray it in the most oppressive possible light, because Maria Walsh, if I remember correctly, Maria Walsh, our esteemed MEP, was speaking about how political parties and organisers in Dublin would not have had to attend a number of security briefings ahead of their participation in the capital's Pride events. Obviously, they're speaking about the Budapest Pride here. She said, in the briefings, they were warned that there could be sound bombs, projectiles thrown at them. They were advised to take off earrings or any other loose items. They also tried to paint it. Drag artists, floats, and even music were largely lacking at the march in Hungary, she explained. There was not the same level of pride flags and bunting in windows around the city as you would see in Dublin throughout Pride Month. It's absolutely farcical to attempt to paint this as some sort of authoritarian, dictatorial regime that Viktor Orban is imposing on the people. Hungary is, by all accounts, an absolutely beautiful country, where people are by and large happy with if they're not necessarily happy directly with particular politicians or particular policies and things like this, they certainly seem to be happy with the standard of life that they're enjoying in Hungary. And to attempt to portray it in any other way is just completely disingenuous. And that's exactly what you have here. I mean, it went by without a hitch, and it hasn't stopped them talking about how dangerous this was, how how essentially brave it was of all of these people to take part in the march that was completely unopposed going through the city. So it's just circus politics at its very best. I mean, they got a nice little sunny trip to Budapest out of it, where they undoubtedly, I mean, Roderic O'Gorman put up a video where he was talking to a taxi, where he said he was talking to a taxi driver who said he'd never taken part in a pride march and he didn't even have anything to do with it, but he just was completely opposed to the again the authoritarian nature of the Orban regime. And it's like these people are talking like they've been dropped into North Korea. It's a joke.